Welcome, DoorGrow property managers, to the DoorGrow Show. If you are a property management entrepreneur that wants to add doors, make a difference, increase revenue, help others, impact lives, and you are interested in growing a business and life, and you are open to doing things a bit differently, then you are a DoorGrow property manager. DoorGrow property managers love the opportunities, daily variety, unique challenges, and freedom that property management brings. Many in real estate think you're crazy for doing it. You think they're crazy for not, because you realize that property management is the ultimate high trust gateway to real estate deals, relationships, and residual income. At DoorGrow, we are on a mission to transform property management business owners and their businesses. We want to transform the industry, eliminate the BS, build awareness, change perception, expand the market, and help the best property management entrepreneurs win. I'm your host, property management growth expert, Jason Hull, the founder and CEO of DoorGrow. And now let's get into the show. All right, so today I'm hanging out with David Norman and Reza Keshavarzi. Did I say your last name right, Reza? I don't even know if Reza's with us. Are you with us, Reza?
Yeah. We always say it sounds like the great sauce that you would put on a steak, Keshavari. So
there you go. Delicious. All right.
Yes.
Cool. So David and Reza are from a company called Tulu, which we'll be getting into, which I think are probably revolutionizing maintenance related to AI. And our topic today, we're going to be talking about AI in maintenance coordination, maybe get into some of the current maintenance challenges, what AI could help with, what should be automated, what shouldn't be automated, because I think that's a very important thing to cover, and how to turn maintenance into a profit center. Before we get into that, why don't we get into some background? So David, why don't you kind of give us the journey? How did you to get into this? How did you how did you start your journey in the property management space?
Great. Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think about it. This all started probably about 15 years ago. Like many of you, started a property management company with a buddy of mine. I remember we started off with 80 doors, got our first client, was kind of excited. He left his job at Verizon. I was actually in the banking industry, bidding on subprime auto loans, and the 2008 crash happened. And so we all kind of knew what happened after that. And so anyway, we actually had some tremendous success, and in just over 4 years, we added over 600 doors, which was a phenomenal growth in our market. And we had a lot of people kind of going, "Hey, what's your secret sauce? What are you guys doing?" Right? And the reality is that we just cared, right? We cared harder. We had fiduciary duty, and all of these owners were leaving their other property managers and saying, "Hey, maybe these guys have it figured out." And we were getting conversions, and our close rate was like 80%. It was really crazy. But something happened. And just like many of us, owners started getting frustrated, feeling like, the magic was wearing off, because at the end of the day, no matter how hard we worked, those owner statements and those maintenance invoices at the end of the month, I realized were the main source of friction between those long-lasting relationships. And the same reason why somebody left that previous property manager to come over for the hope of more transparency and maintenance was the same issue that we ran into, right? So that led me on this journey of trying to figure out, how do we standardize our fiduciary duty to owners when it comes to maintenance, and help them bring transparency and education and understanding to what I feel is really the cornerstone foundation of what a great relationship is. Because the building can be full, the mortgage can be paid, but those maintenance bills still come in, and there's still the questions: why does this cost this much? So I had some great opportunities to work. Went on with Fannie Mae, helped them manage their rental portfolio, but still in the back of my head wanted to try to solve this issue. And all these years later, I get a phone call from somebody that said, "Hey, you need to meet this guy, Reza. He's in the HOA industry, and he's seen a similar issue with lack of transparency. And I think that you guys are kind of trying to solve the same issue. Hey, why don't you meet up?" And I'll preface this. This was the fourth introduction to a guy in a fourth type of tech or a company that we try to part with, and it just shows you the journey of an entrepreneur. Like, you never know when that right connection that's going to align with your passions, resources, and understanding happens. And I actually had 3 other techs that didn't work out before. And I didn't want to bring them to market, right? So that's our story. We got introduced to each other, and the synergies have been fantastic. And I'm really excited to talk about what we're doing here in the space. So it's been a crazy journey. It's been exciting. Maybe one day I'll write a book down the road about all the things not to do, but it's been a good one.
I think every entrepreneur that has a little bit of success could write that book, I'm sure. So cool. So David, tell, where do you think we should start? Everybody, like, there's a revolution right now.
Yeah.
This AI revolution, like it's AI everywhere. And it's moving fast.
Yes.
Like really fast. And it's a bit crazy. And everything's changing. There's a million software tools and companies coming out. Maybe AI is making all of them. I have no idea, but like it's all
well, they say about 85% of all content written online is written by AI these days. So yeah, definitely.
Right. There's the fake internet theory that like the majority of the traffic and communication and comments on the internet isn't even real. Yeah, so it's kind of like we're walking around this fake ghost town, online, and we're consuming content, and we're like none the wiser in a lot of instances. So, agreed. My quick take for those listening, when we, as we're going through this AI revolution, it's exciting. There's a lot of change happening. We don't want to be left behind. We want to make sure we're paying attention to what's new, what we can use. Everybody's probably used ChatGPT once or twice, or keeps hearing about it from other people. They've got a family member. Look it up on ChatGPT, that thing that you use. Yeah. I used it this morning, right? Like I was trying to figure out something in my Chevy Tahoe, and I was like, how do I do this thing in my Tahoe? Like, can you just tell me? Yeah. And it can collapse time, but sometimes it's not useful. I think my take on this is that human interaction is going to be a premium. It's going to be at a premium. It's going to be something that really sets people apart, because we're moving away from humanity to some degree by leveraging all this tech and AI and all these tools. And property management is a very human business. It's a very relationship-driven business. Yeah. And I think we'll get into this today. We want to be careful, of using technology where we shouldn't, or trying to trick people. Well, look, I'm pretending like it's me, but it's AI. Haha, I tricked you, kind of a thing. And what's funny is, there's little indicators, and we know that this stuff's being used in a lot of different ways. Like governments are using this now. Like we don't even know what's real on the news or what's like deep fakes or AI. Like they're showing people's like doing interviews, and they're like, people are zooming in and noticing their rings are disappearing and like weird stuff. Right. Yeah. And stuff's going viral on like TikTok and stuff. And so we're living in this world where we're super skeptical and we wonder if anything's real. Yeah. Sometimes people are even asking, like, is this AI on a phone call?
Yeah. Well, you can't tell the difference now. I'll tell you, our dev team and AI guys, they actually played around with me a little bit, and they actually used my voice and had me doing work orders, and no one could tell it was not me speaking and giving triage and doing that type of stuff. And I actually I tested it with my wife, and I sent her a message over it, and she didn't even blink an eye. It was crazy. It was that first like aha moment that really, when we talk about our fiduciary duty to our clients and ourselves about the power of this and where it's going, right? And to that point, so when it comes to AI, I think people need to understand that really the way that we look at ChatGPT to me is just the new Google, right? It's Google on steroids, okay? And so, yeah, for sure, do we use some ChatGPT to understand, like, how to write the perfect sentence structure and how to, to support that type of stuff, for sure. But the cool part about this, Jason, is that what we're doing is, how do we use these models in this education to teach it about fiduciary duty to your owners? That's what gets me exciting, right? Mm-hmm. That's what gets me exciting, to understand and to think intelligently and to think with thoughtfulness to the owner's pocketbooks when it's considering a decision of how to dispatch for maintenance, right? Like, isn't that what we're all looking for? That we need a system that every work order that comes in, that it goes to a expert maintenance coordinator that we know, what that costs. I'm talking expert maintenance coordinator, a person's been in this job for 15 to 20 years that you can send a work order to and they don't make an error. They're intelligent, they're able to educate, they're able to be client facing. Like there's a real skill set there if you put that on a CV for somebody, right? But that's not what this industry is filled with. Actually, this industry is filled with individuals who are under pressure to find the most affordable maintenance solutions and the most affordable ways to try to find people to run those maintenance solutions. And really we're leaving, we're allocating the least amount of resources to handle what I consider the highest probability of owner dissatisfaction in the property management relationship with the owner, right? So I have a VA who's 2,000 miles away that's responsible for spending $1,000 of my owner's money. And there's all types of potential errors and things that are happening as a result of that. So the way that we look at AI, and actually in our business, we just use the word smart a lot. And we try to use that word intelligent instead of artificial. Because you know what? There is a lot of human input that has gone into this to teach it how to be smart and to teach it how to consider the fiduciary duty. So at the end of the day, I would encourage all the listeners here that are going on this journey with us today to understand not to be skeptical, how to maximize its value, right? And that's really what we're going to be focusing on today, and to show you how we're maximizing its value to help us achieve what we call our dream outcome when handling maintenance. So our dream outcome is, as a property manager, I'm starting a company, or I'm looking to grow, or I'm hitting those next growth objectives, or I'm looking for ways to be more profitable. What is my dream outcome? And that all circles around having an expert maintenance coordination in my office that is reducing trips, costs, and considering the fiduciary duty to my clients, right? So that's what we'll talk about here today, and how we're using AI to achieve that.
Got it. Cool. Well, let's get into it. So what can AI do and what can't AI do? Like, well, specifically, what can Thule do and what can't Thule do?
Yeah.
How do we draw? Where's the line drawn?
Yeah, it's a great question. So first of all, I always tell everybody this out of the beginning. We are not an outsourced maintenance coordination solution. Okay. We're not an outsourced company.
Yeah.
We are not a vendor. Okay. We're not bringing vendors to your marketplace. Okay.
Got it.
Thule is your expert in-house maintenance coordinator. So if you're thinking of, I'm hiring a maintenance coordinator, or I'm building a property management and I need a maintenance coordinator, you now have that ability to add this onto your software, your system. It's a simple plug and play. You get to remain inside of your portal. You don't have to leave it. There's not another new portal. All updates, all things are pushed into Building. We're pushing the AppFolio. That was a big part of it. There's no new app for the vendors. There's no new app for the clients, because we know it's important for them to live inside of there. So what can it do? Well, first of all, it's a leader. Okay. And being a leader means that it is going to use the information that we capture about your company to lead your VAs to make expert triage decisions that always consider your fiduciary duty to the owner. So let's give an example right here to break that down, right? Cool. Say a hot water tank comes in. Okay, hot water tank's leaking. Okay, first thing it's going to want to understand is what time of the day is it, and where's the hot water tank leaking from. Okay, and then it's going to determine, based upon the location of the hot water tank, the type of the hot water tank, which type of vendor at which time is the right one to send out, that is the most cost effective, that has the greatest probability of resolving that issue for the best price and meets the satisfaction of the resident. Right? Now that was a mouthful right there. Okay. And if you think about all of the potential errors and data points and things that are involved, the smart maintenance coordinator considers all those, and it brings out a triage, and it tells the VA, here's the pieces that you're missing, here's the information that I need, and here's what my suggestion is for you to move forward. Okay. So it's amazing at being a leader. And then it's amazing at being an expert about creating communications for the resident and to the vendor to direct them. And then it's also an educator. And at the bottom of every work order, and I hope to be able to show some people, it's really cool. You know, we don't believe in just telling people what to do. We should educate them and tell them why they're doing what they're doing, right? Yeah. So imagine if you had the best expert maintenance coordinator sitting over the shoulder of every VA that you have, standing there and telling them every work order, every time, here's what to do, here's how to do it, and here's why you're doing it, right? And as a result, we're finding that VAs that come over that are dedicated to the account, in 2 weeks, they're educated. And in 6 weeks, the majority of them are executing as a high-level maintenance expert within 6 weeks of after sitting down and learning the training system. Because just as much as it's leading, it's also training and educating. That is a wow moment for somebody who's been in the space, who's been here for 15 years, managing hundreds and hundreds of people for government entities and stuff, and understanding the amount of time and effort and training that goes into somebody. And then all of a sudden they come and they tell you, hey, by the way, I got a new job. Thank you for all the training. I'm going to go make $30,000 somewhere else. Right. How many times has this happened to me? Hundreds of times. Right. Yeah. And so that's a big part of what we're solving here. So
in order to be effective and operate as an expert maintenance coordinator so that your, VAs that don't have this knowledge can function as if they have this knowledge, then this has to be programmed, right? And so maybe it'd be helpful for, the viewers or listeners of this podcast to find out what are all the inputs that go into this? Like what do they have to provide and what do you guys provide, so this AI, they can trust it?
Yeah. Great question, Jason. So first of all, I just want to put on a point too, to make an emphasis that in this journey that we're all learning about these smart technologies and AI, there's still a big part of human component, right? And it's like when you write something in ChatGPT, like you just don't send it without looking at it, right? You're reviewing it and making sure it's still saying what you want it to say, right? So everybody rest assured, this thing is not, living on its own, and there's checks and balances. But the onboarding on average takes 30 to 45 minutes. Okay. And one of the things that we did is number one is when it comes to triaging and best practices, there's literally probably about 500,000 work orders of data points that it's considering. And it's an expert in that thing that's saying, hey, listen, this is how you should handle every work order that comes in because I've seen this, 20,000 times and this is the best outcome. Right. But then what it does is it allows the property manager to talk in natural language. Like you don't have to talk like a robot. We don't have to write weird code. Just say things. Hey, the owner of 123 Main Street really loves Tom. Tom works on his properties. Cool. Comes in, 123 Main Street comes up. It understands what Tom's capabilities are. And it says, please use Tom to use this. The owner prefers that Tom works on his properties. They have a great relationship. Cool. And so those little tidbits, for example, if the heat goes out in unit number 1, understand that access has to be in unit number 2 basement to the HVAC unit, right? So that's good to know. But why is that important to know? Because most VAs would make a mistake. They say there's no heat. They don't check property notes. They send out the plumber. Plumber's knocking on the door at unit number 1. Person says, I don't know where the HVAC unit is. Tenant next door is not home. Now you just charge your owner for $250 emergency call to go out. The resident still doesn't have heat. They think that you're unorganized. It shows you're unorganized on your owner's statement because there's 2 invoices. Oh, no, wait. You want to cover that you're unorganized, so you just ate $250 that you're already not marking up on maintenance. And you do that 10 times a month. Okay. Right. And that's what's going on. So.
And this is where then the owner's like, I might as well just do it myself. And because I know everything and it's in my head. So how did they get all of that out of their head? All the little things they know about each property, each multi-unit property, what's in the basements, what's like.
We have a cool onboarding process. And again, most times about 30, 45 minutes. They sit in, it's called building your AI co-pilot. Actually, a lot of people kind of dig it. It's cool. It's a cool process. And, we go into your system. And we're able to pull out all your work order data, and it organizes all your vendors, and we can tell who all your vendors are and what you're doing based upon the work order types. We can tell who your preferred guy is, who your number 1 guy is. Hey, this guy always seems to be working on these properties. So there's a lot of information that we gather. And then you just kind of come in and you're like, yeah, he's my primary, he's my secondary. Oh, here's this little information about this property. So you really don't have to get like crazy, like the mailbox is located. Like, you can add that stuff later, but in the beginning, it's just like, what are those important rules? I remember this one that really jumped out at me as impactful, where a classic mistake. This owner had a lady living in the apartment for 35 years, okay, and she was getting old. And one of the rules is that no matter what maintenance ticket comes in, don't ask her to triage. Don't ask her it's the tenant's responsibility. I love this person. Please send her out and just take care of her. Right? What a great rule to put into your system that shows the owner that when that work order comes in, He's not getting a call from, and I forget what her name is, and like they're asking me to change my light bulbs again. And then he's like, I told you twice not to do this. And next thing he's looking for another property manager. And I always love that example of that role. So that's kind of what you're looking as far as the information you're giving us. It takes about 30 to 45 minutes for people who have anywhere between, 150 to 350 properties. If you start having, 500, 600, 1,000, I would definitely allocate up to 2 hours in onboarding for sure.
Okay. That's really fast when it comes to rolling out a new technology.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculously fast.
Yeah. Extremely quick. So basically you have all this learning and understanding that's kind of going into who your preferred vendors are. We know how to handle the maintenance work orders. There's no like integration that has to happen. And so as this triage is coming through, you're getting this expert level triage, and you can add things down the road, you can add it, but how to handle the work orders, as we say, there's really nothing new in maintenance. What's new is what's the NTE for the property? Are there any special conditions that we need to know, right? What are your residents' responsibilities and what are you responsible for? Once you kind of have those 4 questions answered, how to handle the hot water tank, at what time to handle the hot water tank, how to repair this door, how to do that. Those true principles of maintenance kind of are true for everybody, if that makes sense. Right. Yeah. So that's a big part of the value that you get, that you're hiring an expert maintenance coordinator. If you were to hire him, you wouldn't necessarily be telling him, hey, this is how you replace a doorknob. He should already know that when you hired him. Right. So think of like it that way when you're considering us as a technology.
So a human maintenance coordinator, the challenge would be there's no way they can remember every detail about every property. Right.
Yeah.
Just not. And so they would have which means they would have to keep notes. Let's say they've already got a decent amount of notes somewhere. It might be in the property management software. Maybe they've got their own, I don't know, database of something. Is there the ability to pull in all that information?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, to grab those notes out. A lot of people have the ability to export it. They have a note file or something like that. We get those. We take that information and it can just be pushed up into the system for sure. So yeah, the onboarding, it can be, again, some people kind of come in and say, all I have is single family houses. Everything's pretty straightforward. Other people send over an Excel list. Here's my property notes at the property levels and upload them. So that's the cool part, where it ingest into the system, and there's not a lot of data manual input. It's kind of reading it and assigning it, and that's where we're using technology to help even improve the onboarding process that you talked about, right? You think about people wear T-shirts like, I survived the Yardi onboarding process, right? There's technology has come a long way to help improve that process, and that was a big part that we focused on. So
yeah, that's wild. So So once you've got them onboarded and they're in your system, the AI knows pretty much everything about the property, but maybe it doesn't. Maybe there's some things it doesn't know. And so a work order comes up, you're working on something, and it's still just in the property manager's head, or it's still in the business owner's head, or maybe they don't even know yet, but it runs into an issue. It's like it has a question maybe, or it needs to know some more stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
What happens in those scenarios?
Yeah, this is a great one. So, all right, so let's talk about the life cycle of a work order, right? And let's everybody just understand that there still is a human component involved in this, right? Every property manager has a dedicated, we call them a remote team member, who's now this expert maintenance coordinator at the cost of a remote team member. Now they're able to execute at a very high level, but there are going to be things that they're faced that they don't understand. So they have the ability to communicate with you one-on-one, or we also have this process internally that they have this ability to go, I need a request from the expert in the loop. And the expert in the loop is invoice review, complication that they're saying that the AI is not clear on them and it's asking for additional support. And so they can bump that up to, individuals like myself, and there's other members in the team members that are a big part of this. And they can get expert level triage inside of there, to say, hey, listen, I'm facing with this vendor issue. They need 25% up front. The job is only $500. I'm not understanding what to do here. The building is located and they're saying access is weird. They need to bring something in. There are complications that still involve human understanding. And so that expert in the loop kind of solves that piece in there. And also, speaking of humans, we believe that residents and vendors still need to speak to a human. Okay.
Yeah.
That's super important. Okay. So the value that we have is that we're able to create expert level triage according to their specifications and the training model and all the great things and the automation and the text messages that are written for them and the codes that are written for them and, or excuse me, the emails, all those things. So if we can automate at a very high level and free up our people to be able to provide support on the phone to the vendor on the field or to actually talk to a resident. Everybody knows this, and I tell it to everybody, guys, residents don't want to talk to a computer. They don't. They want to feel that they have a connection to their property manager, and that when they call in, and a lot of people have not even adopted technology. For anybody who has, residents have been with them with a while, and they're used to talking to Janet, they're used to talking to Tim inside, and next thing you say to them, "Oh, we have a new maintenance system, and by the way, you have to talk to the system." They're like, "This is lame," right? Like, so that personal connection, and we have a saying inside of the office that we keep your residents and your vendors within arm's length of you. Right? It's communicating. They're using your property management name. They're speaking on your behalf. This is an extension of your office. This is your maintenance coordinator. Don't think of this as a vendor. Don't think this is as an outsourced maintenance solution that you're setting all your maintenance to some company that's, sourcing vendors or bringing them in and doing everything. This is your in-house maintenance team. So always consider that when you're thinking about Tulu, real people, in-house maintenance coordinator. Just powered by AI, enabled to execute at a crazy high level. So, yeah.
Yeah. So how do tickets get into the maintenance system? Like, how are they initiated? I mean, do they still have to be answering their own phone calls? Are they just putting it into their property management software and then Tulu's going to start taking some action? What communication does Tulu facilitate or take over if we're going to be still needing some humans to be and Tulu allows us to increase the amount of communication and care that we show.
Yeah.
Where do we draw the line? Like, where is Tulu stepping in and doing some communication, and where do we need team members to be doing communication?
Yeah. Great question. So let's just go through the life cycle of a work order for everybody. I think that's what everyone really understands when they're all thinking about this. Okay. Let's give me a work order from start to finish, right? So no change to your residents, no change to anybody. They log into their portal, Buildeo, Mapfolio, Rentvine, whatever they're using. They submit a maintenance work order. That maintenance work order through their system is dispatched to the Tulu maintenance coordinator, expert maintenance coordinator. All the magic is happening, all the triage, everything's taking place. And inside of the property management software, they're going to see work order received.
Is that dispatched via email, API?
Just through email. Yep. Set up as simple. You can set it up as a maintenance coordinator, and as the maintenance coordinator is set up, and the email comes in and it pings out, and that creates the work order and starts the process and then the property manager will see that the work order has been it's in triage on the status inside their system. Then it's assigned. Then the vendor will be assigned there. And then from there, the updates when it's scheduled, we call it the who, what, and the why, right? What's going on, who's doing it, and what's being done to progress this forward. That's a note. You're constantly getting those notes. Now, the cool part about this, Jason, is behind the scenes, all of those text messages and phone calls and emails that what we call the noise that are between the residents and the vendors and everybody are all being captured in the system behind the scenes. Right? Super value there, right? If a resident is a little bit upset about something or you have some questions, hey guys, can you hand me the phone call for this one or show me the text messages, right? Communications are a big part. So we capture all those communications inside there. Anytime the owner, the property manager wants to pull them, that's great. Then the work order is completed. The completion.
Quick question. So, but all this communication between tenants and vendors, unless they're using some sort of magical system that is that the vendors have to be in and that the tenants are kind of logged into, and it's like seeing all this. How does Tulu capture that? How does it know that the vendor is communicating with the tenant or the tenant?
Okay, so it would be any point. Good point. Any point that the tenant is communicating or the vendor or is communicating with Tulu. So if the vendor happened to communicate directly with the tenant, it would not capture that part, right? That's their phone to phone, that part, right? So it's when the resident or the tenant is communicating with the maintenance coordinator. And as we all know, tenants and vendors love to communicate by text message, right? That's their number one thing to do. So, it's really cool for vendors too, because as we know, a bunch of vendors, they hate, I don't want to work in another app. Vendors can take pictures from their phone. They can upload estimates from their phone. The estimate comes in and it's actually turned into this really pretty estimate, because we know vendors' estimates are notorious for being on the back of a paper and hand scratched, right? Yeah. So it actually creates it into a brand new Tulu estimate. And so your owners get transparency into pricing and labor, and it's standardized and everything looks clean. And so, and vendors love it because they can, they're not lazy, but they're busy guys. And instead of going home and trying to do a whole bunch of paperwork, they can now just generate an estimate, take a picture, and shoot it right through. So,
because the challenge that, there's a lot of communication involved. And so usually to decrease the amount of communication, they're trying to figure out, how do we get the vendors to just talk to the tenants directly to collapse time?
Yeah.
But if you have AI, then my guess is that Tulu will still just act like that middle person, because the vendor can communicate with them. They can immediately then Tulu texts the tenant. Then it's just doing it real time. It's not, you don't have to wait on a human being in your office to make this communication happen. So you're like, well, we're so slow. Let's just get them to talk to each other. The AI is making this happen. Is that
Jason,
accurate?
Huge point right here is, and man, you really hit up the nail on the head on this one point here. The amount of people that we are seeing that they're using vendors to perform triage in this space is actually alarming. Okay. Alarming. All right. Vendors should not be performing our triage. They should not be the ones trying to figure out what is going on. They're not our client facing people. Maybe some guys are good, your in-house guys are good, or whatever. The majority of people are using this, right? The beauty of the system is, do we have enough information that is captured from the resident, the property manager, that considers the needs of the owner to formulate the correct direction to the vendor so that they can show up with the resources that they need to fix the job the right time, or show up educated about what they're there to fix?
So let's talk about this real quick. Vendors should not be doing triage. And why not? What are the obvious ramifications here? Well, vendors, that's like asking a surgeon if you need surgery, right? That's how he makes his money.
Yes.
You're like, yeah, that's the solution, is surgery. We should chop that out. Let's cut that thing out, and I get paid thousands and thousands of dollars.
Or how about this one, Jason? On an owner's report, I see a cost for so many times. You see a cost for a maintenance guy unable to resolve, expert needed. Well, why? Because the maintenance vendor was sent out to do the triage. That's not fiduciary duty to the owner. If we had the right information, we could have avoided that one trip. So we have some really cool case studies that I'd love to show people, that out of 260 work orders, we have one right here, a client that signed up with us. And so out of that thing here, let's see, they completed 194 work orders. 17 unnecessary trips were canceled.
Wow.
Okay. 17 unnecessary trips. And 15 of those work orders had an immediate reduction in price because they said that the wrong resource was assigned to that. So think about that. 17 different.
So if they have an in-house maintenance team,
yep,
you're decreasing your cost deploying these techs going out and doing stupid work, significantly. 100%. If you are using third-party vendors, then there's always an expense if you're sending anybody out, unless you're go do a bid, or something like this. But that's costing the vendor, which they're going to be more frustrated with you. So you're freeing that up, or they're charging you for it. Oh, well, if I go out, I charge, right?
Yep. Yeah. I'll give you an example. We just saved an owner of a pad split property who wanted to replace the refrigerator. The request came in and they asked for three estimates, okay, to replace a refrigerator, okay? The suggestion came back that basically said, in a nutshell, I'll summarize this: why are you sending 3 different appliance vendors who are all going to charge a trip fee to go look at a refrigerator, when a Home Depot program should be used and the cost of a refrigerator should be $860? To factor all those costs in, it would have been about $1,400. I don't understand why you're doing this. Please explain. Right? Talk about fiduciary duty to the owner. I mean, imagine now, and I got a little.
This is why owners get frustrated, and they're like, I might as well just do it myself.
Because I knew better. I would go to Home Depot. Everyone knows to order a refrigerator from Home Depot, right? Unless there's special circumstances. And now imagine this, and this is where we're going with this, Jason. At the end of each month, these owner reports go out to all these owners, and owners sit down and they call up the property manager. And we always hear people talking about this at every conference. Oh, I don't want to answer that phone call. I know what this is about. Right. And the property manager is scrambling at the end of the month to call the maintenance coordinator, dig into work order notes and justify, why did this cost this much? Explain this to me. Right. Yeah. So we have this really cool report that's coming out that basically, including in the property owner, it would let you know that, hey, you had 6 jobs that were able to send a handyman this month. Here's what's going on. You had 2 emergencies, 2 replacements, little asterisks that said, hey, this trip fee was $120. Why? Well, it required 2 people because there was a toilet that was being replaced on the 3rd floor. So they requested an extra hour of labor to be able to bring that toilet up because it was too, like, intimate details so that your owners are feeling like they're getting this, like, this holy
transparency,
unbelievable transparency to this report. The property manager doesn't have to waste at the end of the month, which I used to set away 2 to 3 days at the beginning of each month just to answer phone calls and questions.
Right. All yeah. Like, why did it cost this much? Why? Like, why? They can just see it.
Yeah. Why didn't you send Tom? Well, I did send Tom to snake the drain because it was clogged in the master bathroom. We set his limit at an hour. He used a $17 25-foot power snake. And we said, if you can't get this done within an hour, then we need to send Roto-Rooter. Oh, I get that. You really did try to save me money in the beginning. Yeah. And Roto-Rooter found that 35 feet down the thing was a clogged diaper or something like that. That's what owners need to understand. And to break that down in every work order is a tremendous strain on property managers. And our system in V2 that's coming very quickly, I was actually working on this morning, those owner reports will be generated at the end of every month that explain intimate details about the thought process and the costs and any decisions behind, breaking it down into category for every maintenance work order type for their owners. Huge value. Imagine going to a client, a new client, and you're presenting against somebody else and they say, hey, how do you handle maintenance? And you pull that report out and you put it down on the table.
You're like this. This is the level of detail. Nobody else is doing this.
No. I mean, and if you're not doing this,
having a maintenance coordinator get on the phone every time and saying, let me walk you through all these charges and why they happened and what did. And like, how many people listen to this right now? I'm like, I know you're listening to this going, if I never had to do that again, that would be the best thing ever. Like, if I never had to have that uncomfortable conversation with an owner, like, it's all in there. Yeah. It's all there. Like, and
here's why we are your property manager, and here's the value that I'm giving to you in the transparency to maintenance. That's a huge burden. It's a significant pain point. And we know this, Jason. The first offense creates a little crack between the relationship. The second one, you're losing trust with your owner and they begin Googling other property managers around me. The third one, you're just waiting for them to look and to go somewhere else, so the relationship is falling apart. Right.
Yeah.
And we are.
And you know this. You got a $600 business in 4 years.
Yes.
Like 4 years. Yeah. And you have probably heard countless stories of people, if they're switching companies, it's really rare that people switch companies. Usually things have to be pretty bad. And maintenance, and communication, that's number one factors, communication and why people leave. And so this allows you to free up a massive amount of time so you can actually be on the phone with the people when you need to be on the phone, and stop wasting time with all of these repeat calls, repeat requests. What's going on with this? And this would just save so much time.
Think about growth, Jason, right? So the three things that we're solving for. Number one is we're protecting fiduciary duty to the owners, justifying maintenance costs, and reducing the cost of expert in-house maintenance coordination and making it scalable.
Yeah.
Okay. So now if I can have an expert maintenance coordinator that I add to my office, there's a fixed cost to it. I can scale infinity and not have to worry about hiring and training and staffing and issues and all these problems in Growable, right? My fiduciary duty to my owners, I got reporting and transparency. Maybe my property manager now, instead of being able to manage 250 doors, maybe they can manage 350 doors. Isn't that cool? Like, that's where we're going with this stuff for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely would make a business's maintenance coordination maybe infinitely scalable. So, okay, I know somebody that's listening that's very detail oriented and their brain doesn't think like a spider web like mine, is going, hey, you guys never finished the example scenario because Jason derailed it. And so we've got the maintenance request. It's come in.
Yeah.
So let's go back to that.
Yeah. Maintenance request comes in. The triage takes place. the information is gathered. Once the information is gathered and it fills the requirements of what they believe is the right decision, at that point, the scheduling takes place. Okay.
Okay. So which pieces is Tulu doing?
All of this.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Right. So then we're scheduling, and then the work is completed. Quality pictures are received. If the resident satisfaction, you happy this is received, vendor's invoice is received, and that's all uploaded into the system. And then at that point, the property manager can pay the vendor directly if they have a great relationship and maybe they want to pay them in whatever the way they do. A lot of people like paying their vendors, that's fine. Or they can reimburse the Tulu system if they just want to pay one vendor for the rest of their life, and then Tulu will pay the vendor for them directly. So it is from intake to vendor payment. All updates, all communications, all triaging, everything. Yeah.
Tulu does all of it.
Does it all. It is your perfect maintenance coordinator, what we call the dream scenario. It has the ability to triage, troubleshoot, knowledgeable about vendor pricing. It's client facing and experience. And client facing means that you can even set the parameter that said, hey, if anything is over my NTE, I would actually like you to generate your justification as to why. Think about this and send it out to my owner. Now imagine your owner getting this super email that's like, hey, listen, we have this problem. So the 5 different NTE, here's the steps that it took place to do. Oh yeah.
NTE for those.
Oh, not to exceed, excuse me. Not to exceed. Yeah.
So like the amount that's in the agreement that says like anything under $500 in a single month, like we have a right to just take care of it. Right. Or something like this. Property managers have in their agreements. Okay.
No.
So, so where do they need humans then? Where do humans come in all of this?
Humans need to be there to provide expert level, the same expert level triage that the system is providing. We need humans in there to make sure, first of all, it's accurate. There is a component of that, right? We're reviewing this and training it, learning it. But as we talked about before, humans need to be there. We love that they have a great relationship because they're an extension of the office with their RTM, right? Or with their property manager and that RTM, they get to know each other. Humans are needed to talk to the residents, and humans are needed for vendor support. Okay. Vendors don't want to call into a robot when their hand is in a sewer line from the field asking about, hey, I need help and direction, what's going on. They don't want to hear press 2 if you're unhappy with this service. They don't want to hear that. That's where humans come in.
Got it. Okay. So what are some of the results that you're seeing when you're installing this into businesses? Like what's shifting? Because I'm hearing some things like it's going to decrease the time you're spending on the phone with your owners. It's going to decrease the amount of time doing communication. You won't have to spend time doing triages. It sounds like a large piece of maintenance coordination is going to be taken care of. I mean, it sounds like staffing costs could be reduced.
Yeah.
What you tell me, what are clients noticing once they get this installed over their previous systems of using a stack of tech tools to try and get their team to be able to handle this stuff?
Yeah. I think in the beginning, and I think that it's kind of cool in our relationship, is just to hear people come back after the first month and go, I can't believe it. Like I went an entire month and like I was not involved in maintenance the way that I feel that I needed to be to make sure that all these things were taken care of. And I'm finding myself with like 20 hours extra a month. And we're like, yes, go grow, go add more doors, go be show greater value to your clients. Maybe call your client that you haven't been calling in a month because you've been so busy. Right. So those are really cool. I think from a cost perspective, they are appreciating and believing that not having, even people who had in-house maintenance coordinators or VAs, they still feel, the good ones always still feel that they needed to second check all the work. So even though you're giving to somebody, they never were able to detach themselves from maintenance. And now when they're seeing the justification and they're seeing the education behind it, they get this sense of like, I can let go. You know why? Because this system is doing maintenance exactly the way that I'm asking it to do maintenance. And they feel that now they're actually back in control. If that makes sense, they're giving it away, but they're actually feeling they're in more control. If I'm making sense there, that's kind of one of the coolest things, is that they feel now they have their pulse on every work order, where versus before they have to dive into search. Now they know that their requirements are just laid over every work order. So So those are some big ones that I'm seeing, especially for those people who really show their value to their owners in the fact that they say, I'm involved in every work order or every job. That's a great value prop. It really is. Is it scalable? Is it burning you out? Is it pulling you away from other duties that you need to be? Are you spreading yourself too thin? Great questions to ask if you have growth objectives, right? To be able to have a scalable solution. And basically what we're doing is we're allowing the best in the business, who are property managers who have created great relationships, to duplicate themselves. And that's exciting for them to see. I think that they're like, wow, it's thinking like me. And then that's pretty cool. So
this really sounds like a serious competitive advantage for a property manager that adopts this over any other competitors that don't.
Jason, if I'm going to a new client pitch and now I'm knowing that the guy next to me is sitting down, showing him, this is how I handle maintenance. This is how I'm keeping your costs down. This is the process. And that new report's coming. It's coming in our V2. I was actually working some finals on this morning. And if you're laying that down and then you're walking in behind them and the person says, well, how do you handle maintenance? Well, I personally call you on every maintenance ticket. And, we're witnessing the greatest generational movement of wealth and real estate properties from retiring baby boomers to the next generation, to their kids who are all grown up in a technology world that are demanding, transparency and reporting. And it's just going to be the new standard, Jason, 100%. It's going to be the new standard for sure.
Okay. We probably got somebody listening. They're super skeptical. They're like, there's no way. And they're going to throw out some crazy scenario that came up recently. And I'm sure you've heard some of these. So how would you address that? Like some sort of like, well, what if it's like this and like this and this and this? And it sounds like worst case scenario. The AI just says expert in the loop. Like it raises its hand in some way and says, hey, I could use a human over here.
Right. Here's one that actually, as a guy who in my history, and I used to work for government, Fannie Mae and some other big places. So this is why my work volume is high. We had portfolios of like 30,000 properties. So I've done probably over 500,000 work orders in my career. Okay.
So more than most of the people that are probably listening to this.
Yes. And as a result, just because of the size of the inventories that we used to manage. The other day, a resident submitted a maintenance work order in and said, my microwave is not working. And I assume it's because my gas stove is not turned on. And does my gas stove need to be turned on in order for the gas to flow up to my microwave? Okay. True. Okay. All right. True maintenance work order. The AI, the smart system picked that up. And now imagine a VA facing that without any knowledge or any experience. That's going to be an email to the property manager, a phone call to somebody, or maybe they make a mistake because they're 2,000 miles away and they don't have any contacts and they sent out a plumber to go investigate. And the owner says, why are you sending out a plumber for this? Right. The system picked up and it literally educated and trained. And it said that gas has no relevance whatsoever to a microwave solution. This is an incorrect thing, right? And that when I saw that one, it makes mistakes. Don't get me wrong. It's not perfect. But when I saw it pick up on that one, I said, this is getting exciting that it picked up on that. So that's that. I would ask that person to come and just experience it and look at it a little bit and understand, guys, right? This is exciting. This is new. It's learning. We're developing and it's improving daily. There's still a lot of human oversight. There's still VAs that are involved. But we're getting expert maintenance coordination down to a price point that is affordable for everybody, scalable for everybody. And the biggest point at the end of the day, your owners are going to feel that every maintenance work order comes in is being handled by the best maintenance process in the industry. And that's what you're going to be able to offer them as a property manager to compete against, other competition you have in your market. And I think that's a good value prop. So.
Yeah, definitely. So is there anything else related to turning maintenance into a profit center that we should cover?
Yeah. I mean, the first step is going into a profit center is realizing that the average person is paying between $16 to $28 per door to manage their maintenance, right? If we get that down to the correct number, and I'd love to have anybody come through and we'll run the analytics for them and we'll give them a pricing model for that. Just off the bat, the first profit center that we're creating is what if I'm able to reduce that by 50%, your cost? That's an immediate profit center, right? That's profit center number one. And then we can look at profit centers number two that like, all right, now I can add on if I want to add on to my markup, or we have some other ways that we can show them how to. But the first profit center needs to be is What do you know how much you are paying per door to manage maintenance? Take all of your staff, all of your VAs, all of your systems, all your after hour services, take all those pieces, add them all up and divide them by the number of doors that you have. So every door that you bring on, you know, it's costing me $27 to handle maintenance and emergency services. Okay. Know that number and let's have a talk.
You got to build that calculator on your website.
It's coming.
I've made some similar calculators like that to help people calculate their cold lead marketing costs or whatever. And as soon as they fill that out, they're like, okay, I'll sign up. Like, this is ridiculous what I've been doing.
We have that in product right now. We have a couple of pieces to finish on it, but that's coming out where people can just understand what they're paying per door. But give us a call up. We'll walk you through the exercise. We'll show you what you're costing. Think about that as your first profit center, Jason, and then we can talk about other ones, and we help give some people some advice too. So,
David, you have a lot of knowledge and experience. How much of your knowledge and experience has gone into bringing this AI up to understanding what you know?
I've been working on this for 12 years. Of putting the data and the learnings. And again, I've been fortunate, guys, where it was just my path. It was my journey through this, where I've got to work for some huge outfits. I had my own consulting company for 7 years. I was working with some of the biggest SFR groups in the nation, guys with 10,000, 20,000 doors. And I'm just fortunate to have the amount of data. So, I've put my blood, sweat, and tears into this. But at the core of that, Jason, my blood, sweat, and tears is that, 15 years ago, when I was brand new in this property management space, I had a broker tell me one time that after the sale of the property is done, the success of the owner is no longer your business or mine, and it's up to them. The sale's done. And they told me that when they walked away. And that bothered me. To this day, it bothered me that the fiduciary duty that individuals are giving to us to manage, in some cases, millions of dollars of their money in assets and portfolios, right? Yeah. And what type of products or services are we demanding of this industry that we would demand of, let's say, if I gave $50,000 to my broker to invest in the stock market for me, what type of services and technology and platforms am I demanding of that person? Education, schooling, name brands, right? But yet, are we demanding that same of us in our fiduciary duty to somebody that's giving over maybe their retirement to us, their kids' future college, you hear all these people, why'd you get into real estate? I want to create a college fund for my kids. And after 2 years, the guy's like, this is not what I signed up for. This is the worst mistake I ever made. And I'm backing out of, buying more properties because of challenges, right? That's what I'm driven by. I've always been driven by that. It's my curse. And so I'd have to say there's 100% of me in this, Jason, for sure.
Awesome. And this will outlive you. Like, AI doesn't die.
No.
And this is not to be grim, but this is the concern like anybody has when they're signing up for a business. They're like, all right, how much is reliant on just this one person? Yeah. How much is reliant on that key person I'm interacting with, right? Yeah. And the AI is not a person, right? Yeah. And so, so that's really fascinating to think about. Like, you've built all that into it, and it has
standardized,
immediate, instant expertise.
It's
not like, hey, well, let me go call Tom and let me go check with Fred, or let me, like, all the data, it's there and it's instant. No. And well, let me check.
How about this? I'll show you this.
Let me check with our business owner and get back to you. Yeah.
On the emergency phone call for the hot water tank, right? What's the difference between an emergency of a hot water tank that's leaking in a basement with a permeable stone floor versus emergency hot water tank that's located in the utility closet on the first floor? One doesn't have to necessarily require a person to go out because there's no damage to prevent with water leaking down there. But the other one is leaking onto the floor and damaging your drywall. So these conditions have to be taking place. Locations of hot water tanks, like, I can nerd out in this, and I'd love to sit down with anybody and drink beers and talk about all the millions of different maintenance things that I ran through. But at the end of the day, when you're able to show your owner, we acted as an expert, that's the guy that's going to say to his buddy when they're having a drink, call these guys up to manage your property because they're expert in the thing. And that's what we're trying to bring to the industry for sure.
So this brings a level of expertise that the business owner, the property manager, the maintenance coordinator, and certainly the VAs just would not possess.
You're talking 15 years, over 500,000 work orders worth of data points, learning and from commercial, multifamily, single family, across the board, best practices. And it's for somebody who wants to imagine now a person can start a property management company tomorrow, onboard Tulu, and they're immediately a veteran in the maintenance industry. Immediately.
Yeah.
No learning curve. You're operating and executing as the best maintenance coordinator in the industry starting tomorrow.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It's really cool. Really cool.
This is really wild. So now my brain's like, how can I get experts in all, like, how can I get clone Tulu, but make an operator version of Tulu for running a property management business? Or how can I make a
yeah, there are offshoots in this. I would have to say, and I do want to tell anybody that in this space that we always say that property managers are safe, because you know what the property managers do a great job at doing. You guys do a really good job at building relationships and creating value in your local markets, right? Yeah. Focus on that. Don't get pulled into maintenance, right? Maintenance and that stuff can be automated. There are best practices. Don't struggle to have to be an expert there. Show your value in the resources and tools that you have, lower your overhead, produce better results, be at networking events, shake more hands, talk to more people, sell more homes, add more doors. Shine where you shine. Brokers shine when they're out in front of people, shaking hands and having expensive salads over a nice glass of Chardonnay and closing deals, right? Let us flip the toilets and do it well for you. That's what I say.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So speaking of networking events, we've got DoorGrow Live coming up. We appreciate you being our platinum sponsor for DoorGrow Live. Yeah. If you're wanting to come, hang out, meet, get familiar with Tulu, come to DoorGrow Live. It's going to be this next month in May, depending on when you see this recording. And it's going to be in May. You can check it out at doorgrowlive.com. And how can they get a hold of you, David, if they're interested in getting started? How do they find out about Tulu?
Yeah, you can go right to our website at trytulu.com. And if anybody wants to email me personally, david.normand@trytulu.com. I'll connect you with our sales team and set you up on a personal demo. I'll walk you through it. I promise I won't bring so much energy. I'm an energy guy. It's just my calling in this space to be in the maintenance, and I love doing what we're doing and seeing owners go, yes, seeing property managers go, yes. And we're not trying to replace anybody. We're just trying to help people honor their fiduciary duty to their owners. And that's my mission. That's what I'm driven by. So.
Yeah. Fantastic. So try Tulu, TULU.com.
Yep.
All right. Try it out.
All right.
Cool. Well, David, thanks for coming on the DoorGrow Show podcast. Appreciate you.
Yeah. Thank you, Jason. Always great. Looking forward to the show. Until next time.
All right. So if you are a property management entrepreneur and you are wanting to add doors, you get maintenance offloaded, you off your plate, and you want to focus on growth and figuring out how to get more doors, you want to join the DoorGrow Mastermind. Our growth accelerator is all about that. We are really good at optimizing businesses for growth using our rapid revamp class, where we clean up quickly all of the front end stuff that is causing you to kill trust and leaking trust and preventing deals. And then we give you the right strategies. We've got at least 7 different growth engines that we can help build into your business that you can stack that will feed you unlimited leads without having to spend any money on advertising or marketing expense. You just need people, and it actually decreases the amount of time those people will spend if they're working on the warm leads and the stuff that we would get you to do instead of cold leads, which take a lot more time. So we also have our super system level of our mastermind. This is where we're focused on ops, operations, helping your operator, that key person that's going to run the entire business for you, Mr. or Mrs. Visionary Entrepreneur, and they will help take your business to the next level. We can coach and support your operators, your BDMs, your salespeople, or you, the business owner, to make this business infinitely scalable so that you can go to the next level and add a lot of doors. So reach out to us. Let us assess your situation and see if we can help. You can check us out at doorgrow.com. All right. That's it for today. Hope everybody found this episode useful. I think it's super fascinating. And until next time, to our mutual growth. Bye, everyone.